Can I just ask everyone to take their seats? I want to start very, very soon.
Gotta put it in you.
Everyone having a good time so far? Wait for everyone to settle down. All good. Everybody has their seats, everybody's ready, we're good. Panelists, are you okay? Are we breathing? Are we nervous? Are we wondering what the heck is Lynn gonna ask us? Awesome. So everybody, thank you so much for coming out for this evening's event, Inspiring Financial Inclusion. I started planning this event about 3 months ago, and I can't believe it's here, and I can't believe it's over here, and everything went well, on time, when it comes to public events, you never know. So again, welcome everyone for coming this evening. My name is Lynn Saul and Money Montreal. It is a community I created back in 2020, and it was basically a way for women to gather and increase their level of financial literacy. Everything explained in simple language. Simple everyday language, no judgment, no sales pitch, and really from the heart. And so it started off in 2020. I invited 25 of my closest friends, and now between Facebook and Meetup, we're well over. Oh, it's okay. You guys don't need to see me.
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay, I'm here. Okay. Thank you, Dahlia. And now we've grown to over 2,000 members organically. And I hope that everybody for being a part of it, because I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how it was going to grow. I didn't know what I was going to do. So it's really thanks to all of you. So tonight we're here for 3 reasons. Number 1, we're here to celebrate International Women's Day and Women's History Month. We are here to also celebrate the upcoming 100th Financial Literacy Zoom of Women in Money Montreal, and I'll get into that in a second. And number 3, we are going to talk about financial inclusion. Now, what is financial inclusion? I'm not going to tell you. What I did is I gathered 8 panelists who are completely different from each other, and we're going to have an open conversation about finances, about women, about life, and what is financial inclusion. So I want to introduce our 8 panelists. First, my glasses keep slipping. First, we have, she is the founder and host of the Raising Sparks podcast, Maria Bello. Next, all the way from Calgary, she is the director of sales for Invito Capital Corporation, Jordan Green. A nurse with lots and lots and lots of experience. Next, we have CPA auditor and real estate investor, Vivian Zabuga. And next we have right in front of me, straight from the Costco Roadshow, the co-CEO and co-founder of Midday Squared, Leslie Carl. And next we have IDEA advisor and founder of Completely Inclusive, Kelly Brown Johnson. And we have independent designer and former president of Completely Lenza, Nancy Boudreau. And last and certainly not least, president of Ontario Office of Sartorelli, Judy Sartorelli. Give her a round of applause. All right, Maria, we're going to start off with you. Turn on the microphone. Please keep the microphone close to your mouth, not like this. Hello, like this. Thank you. So Maria, you moved to Montreal in your early 30s. And you basically experience what a lot of immigrants go through when they come to Canada, lack of Canadian experience. And when it comes to finances and earning a living, you need a job. And how could you come to Canada as an immigrant, applying for a job, and they keep asking you for Canadian experience? As someone who's in the field of public relations and marketing, it doesn't matter where you live. You know, it's not like being an engineer in a hot country. It's not really pertinent. How did you deal with all the no's?
Great question. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. So yes, I moved on my early 30s from Colombia. And I guess it depends from the situation when you move, but I came as a student. I had experience in PR in my country, and I decided to keep growing my experience. And I decided to do a one-year program at McGill, but then it's like, as you said, yeah, great, you study, and what is your experience? So I guess I already knew what I was going to face. So during the time that I was studying, I started building my community. I started like talking with teachers and getting more involved with other peers. So asking questions. So I had to humble myself a lot in terms of like putting a lot of expectations of having the same, let's say, lifestyle that I had back in the days, especially when you're in your early 30s. I already had my life in Colombia. So I had to start doing a lot of volunteering and knocking doors to look for opportunities and see who opened the door to give you the chance to start building the experience. So I guess, yeah, there was a lot of no's, especially in PR. It's like, do you know the market? Do you know the media? Do you know how the Quebec market is very different from the rest of Canada? I had let's say, an advantage that my experience in PR back in the days before leaving Canada was to expand to new markets. So I already knew how to do that. So now I had to do that for myself to start like expanding. And I think it's also shifting the mindset of not being like, hey, can you give me a job? It's like, this is the situation. I came here to keep growing my career. I'm just looking for someone who can give me the chance to share what I know and what I can bring to the table. So
you also have a very positive attitude, and I know there are a lot of people here who are experiencing this same situation, being new immigrants. Now, on top of being a new immigrant, no Canadian experience, we live in la belle province, Quebec. You came here not speaking French. What made you stay? What made you stay? Because a lot of people, when they come here, you know, Montreal is a great city, but you know, there's life beyond Montreal.
yeah.
How did you deal with the language barriers, and what made you stay in Montreal?
Well, yeah, the French also was another thing on top of the experience. But again, it's all about the positive attitude. I guess Montreal, since I arrived, opened the doors and gave me so many opportunities. I'm a very curious person. I'm a very active, and I want to do a lot of stuff. So Montreal has that vibe, and I connect very well with the city and meeting people from lots of backgrounds and start building community with people that are aligned with my values. I'm very into personal development, so I start like meeting a lot of people that are aligned with what I love. So that's why I guess I decided to stay. I started building my family, let's say here. All my family is in other countries in Colombia, so I don't have any family members here, but I have a really supportive community, and I do believe community is everything when you start from scratch and getting out of your comfort zone and ask questions and find people that really wants to help you. So that's what I found here. And for the French, well, it's part of the, let's say, patience and learn, and also that positive attitude of like sharing with everyone, like, listen, I'm here to learn. I want to learn more about your culture, your language. So there's a lot of people that also were like open to support me in that, especially in PR, like building relationships with journalists, not in Montreal, but in the rest of Quebec. They were also happy that you really want to learn the language, and you start building a genuine relationship with them.
It's all, you have such a positive attitude, and I wish like other people would adopt that. Look, Montreal, Quebec is hard when you don't know the language, and it is a barrier for a lot of people who don't speak the language, but it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. So I'm happy you learned the language and you're fluent in French. I've heard you speak French too. All right, we're gonna move on to Jordan. Pass the mic to Wally. Jordan, you're the director of sales for a private debt firm in capital markets, but you had a very similar upbringing or background as Maria. You're not in finance, you weren't in finance at all. You actually had a PR background. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight. I'm really excited to be asked to be here. So thanks, Lynn. Yeah, so I actually studied business as a diploma, and then did a postgraduate diploma in public relations. And I worked in PR in Montreal. And then I moved to Calgary with my husband, who could not learn the language as well as you did here. So we moved to Calgary, and I actually thought this was an opportunity to kind of change and do something that I'm more passionate about, because I think it's really important to be passionate about what you do and love, like life is short. You want to like what you do every day because it's a long life otherwise. And I didn't for me, I didn't like the subjective nature of public relations, and I really enjoyed the math or finite, versions of finance. So what I did is I used my public relations and business background to get kind of a business development client services role in a trust company. And then from there, I kind of found male and female allies, just like you just mentioned, that would act as mentors and kind of guide me if I wanted to grow in this industry. What do I need to do? Who do I need to ask? Who can I sit with? Beyond just going back to study corporate finance and getting another degree, there's got to be designations and charter holders that can educate me in my career as I progress. So that's what I did about 7.5, 8 years ago. And now, as you mentioned, I'm working as a director at a private capital markets firm, and currently studying for my CFA.
For those who don't know, the CFA exam is like passing the bar in finance. It's crazy.
I didn't back. I'll come back in May and let you know.
Well, in finance, as you and I know, it's very male dominated, and the further you go up, the fewer women you see. And also, on the other side, on the investor side, you don't see a lot of women investing in the alternative space on both sides. What's the barrier? Why do you think that is?
I think when now I think groups like Women in Money Montreal and Women in Capital Markets are doing a much better job at talking about the opportunities that exist in male-dominated career paths. But I think when we're brought up as women, you're not really told, oh, you can be a corporate finance major just like he can. I think you're kind of geared towards or gravitated towards a certain path, and you're not prevented from doing something, but maybe these types of positions or these industries aren't necessarily advertised. So you don't know, okay, if I'm working in finance, I have to be an analyst. That's the job, right? I do numbers all day, every day. So they don't necessarily know about maybe, the business development side of finance, the portfolio management side of finance. So the different types of avenues that exist that could perhaps suit what you're passionate about, but get you into that field. And then it's intimidating. It's so intimidating. I was here for work this week and I had 22 meetings, and I was telling the fellow panelists that I didn't meet one woman this whole week. Every meeting was with a man, which is great. They're all really nice, and they're allies, right? They're excited to have a female at the boardroom table, and it's so important to have both men and women and from different backgrounds, because it includes different perspectives. So you can offer a lot more to the end investor if you have different sets of experience at the table. So yeah, I think intimidation and then a lack of awareness is probably the top two reasons for why I think you don't see people getting into it and then growing it.
So speaking about at the table, you're at the table, you're the director of sales. Do you feel imposter syndrome sometimes?
Oh yeah, every day. That's why I'm doing the CFA. I'm like, okay, put some letters behind me. Maybe I'll get that confidence that I should have, that everybody else seems to have, and they don't have the letter, so I don't know what's happening. But I think I think that's a part of being a female, right? Like we're emotional and we don't necessarily believe all the time that we deserve a seat at the table. Especially when you're looking at a bunch of dudes in suits, all the same ones, and you're like, what should I wear in my dress?
I think maybe blue suit, David, where are you? Maybe blue suit.
Lots of brown shoes. We have better shoes than the guys do for sure. But yeah, for sure. I suffer whether it's because of the gentleman at the table with me or really powerful women, unfortunately. And I think meeting a lot of people in this group here, and this is what we need. Like we need empowered women to empower other women. And that unfortunately isn't always the case, like we can be our own worst enemy and we need to, if I, personally, when I do get to the boardroom table, if there's another girl there, I'm like, hey, I'm Jordan, nice to meet you. Like, let's chat, not like, oh, I should be here and you shouldn't, or what do you do? What's your education? It's really like, oh, we're in this together and let's support each other. So I think imposter syndrome, is created by ourselves, but also the other people at the table, both men and women. So I think when we do more things like you're doing, it'll only get easier for us, I think, to feel that confidence that we should have.
And this is the reason why I have these events. It's because when you look around, everybody just looks kind of, not the same, don't look the same, but nobody looks down on anybody here. And the whole idea is to understand that, yes, you could do it. Like I know for a fact in this room and downstairs as well, there are at least 10 real estate investors here. But you wouldn't be able to pick out like, hey, you look like a real estate investor, I know for a fact that there are at least 10, maybe some of the clients, there are at least 10 women here who have $250,000 of liquid assets. You know what I mean? But again, looking at everybody, you can't pinpoint, oh, it's you, you could do it. We could all do it. We just have to, deal with the imposter syndrome, have the confidence to say, hey, I could do it. If the guys could do it, we could do it. I mean, come on. Sorry, guys. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah. They come for the free booze. All right, thank you, Jordan. Next, Cordelia. Cordelia has been a nurse for 30 years. Give her a round of applause because she started when she was 12. She's very smart. But honestly, I have a question for you. When we were doing the interview, going over the questions, the nurses union was still going through contract negotiations, and we were saying, I wonder if they're going to come to an agreement. They did finally this week, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Why won't the government pay you guys and give you better work conditions?
That's a very, very good question, Lynn. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you all for being here and celebrating this Women's Day, Women's Day, Women's History Month. It was nice if Mr. Legault would be right here in front of us, and I would of course have to say it en français. I don't know, like we had mentioned, during the first wave of the pandemic, 2020, we were the guardian angels. Thank you so much. Your service is appreciated. And all of this sort of flowery language was headed our way. And of course, now we thought going into negotiations, I speak for myself anyhow, that we felt that the government would treat us like the guardian angels, to pay us our respect and give us our due, to say, okay, they put in the hours, they work really hard, let's give them a fair contract. Of course, they started at this, this insulting offer of 9 point whatever percent. I feel like that was such a lack of respect to our profession. I don't understand if the police officers, when they started with them, they started at 20% the negotiation. That was the starting, right? Why do we not have that level of respect? Why can't we start at 15% over 4 years or whatever it is? It's always this sort of nickel and diming us. And I think it's really a shame. A lot of people are leaving. I know of one colleague actually who's moved out to New Brunswick. The cost of living is getting more and more expensive here. It's really difficult if you want to raise a family, and it's hard. If you want to have a reasonable life, you have to sort of move off the island. And then the commute to come in, let's not talk about the traffic, let's not talk about the REM. So it's very, very difficult.
But it's just the same conversation over and over again. And it's always in the female dominated industries. It's the nurses, it's the teachers, it's the administrative assistants who, I don't care which company you go to, the admin, they're the ones who run the company.
They do.
Without the admin, a company will not run, but a lot of them are underpaid.
Yes.
But I think we need to start getting a seat at the table, because the whole problem is who's in charge of the negotiations? It's not you per se,
No.
you know, it's the powers that be. And one of the messages I want to get across is us as one, what we need to do in order to change, we need that seat at the table. You know, we need to, you know, we need to have power. We need to, when it comes
Well,
to
we
government.
try to, I think what they try to do, especially with the Common Front, I mean, of course, our president of the union is a female, and we do have several females that sit up on those executives, but yes, it's true, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the male dominated committee. They're the ones that ultimately make the decisions and sort of say, okay, this is what we think that you guys deserve, and so be it, kind of thing. I really hope, we haven't voted on it actually, even though the agreement is tentative, we haven't voted as members to agree or not. As you know, the teachers, when they agreed, it barely passed. I'm not sure if it's gonna pass, and if it doesn't pass, then we have to renegotiate again.
It's unfortunate. For those who don't know, it's been a year.
No, more than a year and a half.
Yeah, that they've been negotiating. And again, with the SQ, the police officers, it didn't take that long.
Didn't take that.
And we just have to do better, but we have to be, you know, again, the executives, you know, your union reps and all that, there could be women, but then there's the other side that you're negotiating with, and if you're not at that table, it's not gonna happen. That's why I told you, Cordelia, I don't know if they've closed applications, but there's an opening for, health minister of Quebec, and they're paying $600,000. Yeah, $600,000. I wanna see your face there. I don't care if you don't check all the boxes.
Oh, because I don't have the mic to my mouth. Thank you so much, sorry. Sorry.
Yes, I want you to apply for that job.
Actually, no, I don't. That's a very, very big job. I mean, we know about the salary and all of that, but it's quite big, and it's like, I don't think that person, whomever takes on the role, male or female, it's gonna be quite difficult to manage the healthcare system of the whole province. That in itself is tough. I was a manager for a brief time of 12 clinics. That's a lot. So imagine to take on the whole province. But you know, Lynn, maybe I will put my hat in, put my name in the hat. Why not?
Never know what happens. I mean, you know, the person who's going to get the job, do you think they're going to do a better job than you?
No.
Exactly. That's your 600,000, and they pay a sweet pension.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it.
But it's true, you know, during COVID, nurses, teachers, essential workers were our heroes, but the minute you ask for money,
Yeah.
the minute you ask for money, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vivian. When people think of real estate investing, they usually think of investing in multiplexes, you know, in multiple multiplexes. You took a different approach, and actually you took a different approach from what your parents do. What did you decide to do? What was your approach to real estate investing?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, it's really exciting to share my story here. I was really happy to be invited to share this story, because I really am an advocate for real estate investing. So I'll share with you what my strategies are. Basically, I invest in condos. So yeah, my dad had a duplex, and I just saw that he had a lot to do on the duplex itself. There was a lot of, you know, he had to take care of the snow removal, he had to do the grass, he had to do all the exterior of the building. When you invest in condos, you have if it's a multiplex high rise, that's what I focus on. So I focus on high rises that are centrally located, that it's like, we're talking 200 units in the building with amenities, but there's a management company and there's a board that's running it. So you only have to worry about what's inside the walls of the building. So really, and then you pay the rest. So I don't think that the return is as high, but when you're a busy person, you take what you can, you know, manage, right? So, and then I also focus on buildings that are newly built. So whenever I take possession, let's say off of a developer, there's nothing that's gonna go wrong. Basically, like, I think that the most that I've done is like a caulking in the bathroom, like redo the caulking. It's like nothing to do and I hire a guy or whatever. So I just find that it's been really easy to manage. And so another aspect of it though is that you're in a condo. So now there's many units that have an edge on the other units. So you want to pick up those units with an edge. Let's say there's a building that has like a building in back of it, and then in front it's an open view. Now, you should pay more to buy the unit that has the open view versus what I hear people say is like, you know what, I'm not gonna pick up the property that has, you know, that's more expensive because this one's cheaper and I don't care because I'm not living in it anyway, but you have to sell that unit to your tenant and then you eventually have to sell it to another buyer eventually. So it's like, why do you want to go through that stress of having a unit that is not being rented? Other ones go on the market, you know, it's always like they keep on coming up and then your unit doesn't get rented. You have to lower your price. Now you're dealing with somebody who can't afford necessarily the other units. Like, so one thing is that I deal in luxury condos. So I deal with professionals. I have 3.5s only. So I deal with people who are sort of in an intermediary, like they maybe just left their home and they want to move out on their own and eventually they want to start a family. So they're not going to stay too long. You don't want a tenant to stay too long with you because then you're going to be stuck with lower rents because the regie is not going to work with you for allowing you to raise the rent. So that's been my strategy. And I think that, yeah, paying more for just having that edge. And it actually happened to me. There's an example where I had somebody contact me because there was a unit that I had already visited and they were ready to sign and they saw mine go up. And this is before I had a realtor. That's another thing. Use a realtor. I've learned that through my journey. But before I was not using a realtor, so I posted it up, and this woman came to me and she said, "I already saw that unit. I'm ready to sign, but I like your colors better, and it's higher up and whatever. I had a better view and I had better finishing on the inside. So all she needed to do was see it, and she was ready to sign. And I basically stole the tenant away from the person below me with the same plan. So." These are the things that I do. So what is a very good expression to me is what you don't pay on the front end, you're going to pay on the back end. So pay up front. Don't be too, like just put yourself in the person's shoes who's going to be renting from you. Would I like to live here? If the answer is no, you know, maybe don't buy it, look for something else. And so that's been my strategy. And I think it's really worked out. Now, I want to go back because I wanted to invest in triplex and duplex, but I actually didn't even have the money. Like I didn't have the down for a triplex or a duplex. So like what I could have it down for was a $217,000 property in Laval. And I wanted a condo in Montreal. Like I didn't want to be in Laval. I was living in Montreal. I was like, well, what's Laval?
Exactly, what's Laval, Jill?
No, I live in Laval now, and I love it, but I'm just saying that.
Not at all, baby.
But yeah, we do. We really do. It took a year, but like to get into it. But yeah, I'm happy with the change. But basically, you know, go with what you can afford, and you might be surprised that it was the better thing for you anyway. Maybe that was the plan all along. You know.
Exactly. I know in this room, there are a lot of women who, because we have the conversation in our weekly Zooms, I want to invest in real estate, I want to invest, but I just can't go. What's your advice for women who are, or men, there are some men here who might be interested as well, maybe, but who are interested in investing, but just moving forward, what's your advice for them?
Yeah, so I think that when I talk to people, there's different reasons for why they might not go into investing. I think that if they think about the energy that it requires or the time that it requires, and they might want to focus on other things or spend their money elsewhere. But I really think that, you know, you just need to do it because the returns are just substantial. So if there's an argument that I can give you, this is something that any banker, is there any bankers in the room? Maybe.
Oh, look at me, I'm not a banker. No, I'm a banker. I'm not interested.
So like if you put, let's say you put $100,000, let's say you're like, I'm investing, this is easy and it's in money markets or it's in stocks, and it's easier. And the return is the same roughly or whatever, but you're putting your money into 100,000, let's say you're putting your money into the stock market and that's 100,000 appreciating at, let's say, an average rate of 7%. But let's say you put that money instead as 20% down to a property, now you have $500,000 appreciating at, let's say, 7%. But you only put in 100,000. So, and then somebody's paying your rent, like the rent is paying for your expenses, and you have return from when you're paying your mortgage, a portion of that is going into principal. So that's coming back to you. So it's even more than that. So the returns are just absolutely substantial. So if there's anything that's, like if it's a confidence thing where you're worried or you're pessimistic, just don't focus on any obstacles in your way. You know, just like try to find a path for you, like be confident, be like optimistic about what you're doing, and probably like you're gonna be successful, because the more you focus on pessimistic things, the more they're gonna come your way, honestly. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely. It's all about, again, attitude.
Yeah.
And what she's talking about, ladies who attend my sessions, leveraging, that's what it is. It's taking borrowed money and making a return on it. That's exactly what a mortgage is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good debt, right? It's
Yeah.
like the rate is so much less. Like, I mean, now it's a bit high, but it's not that high compared to what it has been in the 80s. So, and it's gonna go down, like what we understand is that it's not going up from here. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
At the end.
No question.
Bill.
And also get a mentor, eh? Because I worked with a mentor. Yeah, I had somebody who did exactly what so I followed their path, and get somebody who systematically knows what they did and what they did right. And also whenever somebody says something to you, like there's always gonna be a story, and it's happened to me so many times, like don't go into that. Like I heard this guy lost tons of money. Don't listen to that, because frankly, when something goes wrong, there's some research that says that that when something goes wrong, the person will share it with 10 people, and those 10 people will tell another 10 people. So it really propels, but when something goes right, they're not necessarily going to share as much. So you're not seeing the whole picture. You're seeing all these people complaining, but it's not the real picture. It's just the people who are sharing. And that's, you share more your losses than you do your gains, to be honest.
Absolutely, that's so true. Thank you so much, Leslie. You don't have to turn and look at me. It's okay. You can look at me. Don't understand that. So Leslie, a lot of people follow Midday Squares online. You have a big following, but really your company started off in your kitchen. And there's a lot of women here who have side hustles, and I really can't stand that term. And they're doing their business or running their business from their kitchen. How did you go from your kitchen to where Midday Squares is today and still growing?
Thanks, I lost my voice, so I hope you can all hear me. I've been on a Costco roadshow for the last 5 days. So I've been speaking, I think today I spoke to 2,000 people, but bear with me. So thanks for having me, Lynn. Yeah, I think, I've been an entrepreneur for the last 13 years, swinging and missing. Midday Squares is a series of learnings. I did start in my kitchen, and from an idea, I was making the Midday Squares for my husband at the time, who was eating, garbage in the afternoon. And I said, look, let me make you something that will satisfy your hunger and really get you through the day. And so I made him a version of the first square. And for anybody who doesn't know the company, we make functional chocolate. It's got protein and fiber. And we decided in 2017 that we were going to take this thing and commercialize it. And so for about a year, we spent time just making the product in our kitchen and perfecting it for what the market needed. I think the biggest thing is when you have an idea is to take action. A lot of the time, like we're saying, we overthink, or we have imposter syndrome, or we think we can't do it, or we're scared of how we're going to be perceived, or if we're going to fail. And it all doesn't matter, because it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you fail. It doesn't matter if you're anything, right? We're so in our head. And so I think the biggest thing is to get your idea to a market, or from an idea into something you can touch, feel, smell, eat, whatever it is, you just have to do. And that's what we did. It was every single day, it was one big thing, 3 little things. And next thing you know it, your product's in a package and you're selling it in a store. And then a couple months after that, you've done $1 million in revenue and you're in a little kitchen. And then next thing you know, from there, a couple years later, You built a manufacturing plant and you're manufacturing 60,000 squares in 8 hours. But it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with a lot of perseverance and grit. And it also happens with not being scared. Because you have to be okay with taking risks. And you have to be okay with being judged. And you have to be okay with people talking in your ear, thinking you're crazy, you know? And people did think I was crazy. For many years before Midday Squares, I was, considered a failure. I was considered a person who gives up all the time. But I was just finding my groove. I was tinkering. I was figuring out what was my next thing. But today, people look at me as successful. I'm just the same person, So if you're in your kitchen today, or you're working 9 to 5, and you're trying to figure out what's next, just stick to it. It's he or she who can withstand the most pain will succeed. It's just resilience. That's what it is. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you.
One last question, and I'm gonna ask you 3 questions in your poor voice. Thank you, Lynn. So more and more women are starting businesses, but here's a stat. It's still in the same 5 industries since 1980s. So women are still, when they start a business, are going into retail, sales, real estate, childcare, or beauty. You're in manufacturing. How is it to be a woman in manufacturing and co-founders or co-CEOs with two men?
Yeah, for sure. I think some of the things that were said earlier as well is opportunity, right? Or what we think we can do, or what's being put in front of us, right? I mean, more and more now it's social media. What do we see? And a lot of women, young girls are seeing women on OnlyFans and women becoming influencers. And you see it, right? So whatever was happening 100 years ago, it's still happening today. And what careers are being pushed for women? I love being an industrial builder. I think it's really, really cool. I think we need more manufacturing in the world, period. I mean, look what happened during COVID. We saw that North America actually moved so much of its industries overseas, but we were really affected, right? So manufacturing is something that really inspires me. It is an old industry. It is a male predominant industry. I do actually know a few founders, women founders that are also in manufacturing, but there are challenges for sure. Like I said, it's an old industry. And so I think there's just an expectation that is had. So seeing a woman in the room, I'm not sure if it's that men don't think women can do it, but I don't think they know how to act when they see a woman in the room in this situation. And there has been situations, right? Like at the end of the day, I say this a lot, and I'm getting a little philosophical right now, but I watch Animal Kingdom, Planet, whatever it is on Netflix. And if you look at how the Animal Kingdom works, it's very similar to how it is for us, right? Male-female dynamic, it's different. We're different. How we act together. So I think even though we've come a long way, how we act in the workplace and how we see each other is still evolving. So I think that men get uncomfortable when they see women in power or see women, in different positions. But I don't think it's because they don't want us to be there. I think it's because they don't know how to act. And so they say weird things like, oh, you're the boss lady. I'm like, I know. I don't need to tell me, because a man would never say, well, you're boss man or whatever. But it's okay. It's all about educating. It's all about figuring out how to make them feel comfortable. And so you're seeing women coming more into the industry. And I think it's amazing. And I love being in manufacturing. And I have 2 partners that are males that have had my back and supported me and see me as an equal. When I say equal, I mean see my value. Men and women are different. That's okay. That's a good thing. Like you said, we need diversity. We need different opinions, different approaches. And so I think it's fresh. But I would say that my partners have always supported me on the journey. And, I had a situation I was telling Lynn about when she asked me some of these questions on our call. So I built the manufacturing plant. And I was dealing with a lot of manufacturers and a lot of men who were selling me equipment. And I had one guy who was selling me a packaging machine. And we were talking, and I was trying to innovate. I was trying to bring a new form of packaging to food. Because who goes to Sephora in this room? Mostly, I'm surprised not everyone has their hand up, but cosmetic has the most interesting packaging. I mean, from the shapes, the feel, the touch, the look. Food doesn't. And so there's not a lot of innovation in food packaging. And so I was working with this gentleman, and then he sent my husband an email and said, "Can you knock some sense into your wife?" And my husband very quickly responded to all of us on the email, including me, and had my back. And obviously the man lost the business. I felt it embarrassed. And it's and that's it, right? You work through it, you keep going. And that's it. I think it's just about not getting too fixated on it. Things are gonna happen. People are gonna have opinions, people are gonna try to pull you down, but it doesn't really matter. You gotta be confident. And I think women suffer from confidence. And it's normal that we suffer from confidence. It stems from years and years ago. I mean, think about it. I just gave a speech to UPS a couple of weeks ago for Women's Day. And 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. It's not that long ago that we started getting power and we started having opportunity. So men have had opportunity for a lot longer than us. So that's why they have the confidence, even though they don't have the numbers, right? So we're getting that. So wake up in the morning, believe in yourself. You're fucking amazing. And that's it. It's a work in progress every day.
Thank you. And another quick stat to add, women weren't allowed to have bank accounts without their husband's signature until 1967. That wasn't that long ago. We've come a long way, but we still need that confidence to keep moving. Awesome. Thank you so much, Leslie. And midday squares are on the Costco Roadshow, Point Claire Costco until the end of the month. They need your support to make their numbers so that they could get on the shelf of Costco at their conditions. No problem. Kelly, hi Kelly. Kelly, you have been an advocate of inclusion on all levels for a long time before it became trendy. You know, because it became a trending topic. No, but you started when you were 6, you know, like Cordelia. Your company, Completely Inclusive, expanded from DEI, which became trendy, to IDEA, which is inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. You focus a lot on working with corporations to shift work cultures and also restorative circles. What the heck is taking so long for governments and corporations just to get it and just become more inclusive? Like, it's logical. I don't get it. Explain it to me.
So yeah, I've been fighting this since time immemorial. You know, part of my work began, it kind of initiated out of some of the advocacy work I was doing when I went to Parliament Hill in Ottawa in 2017, I think, to protest the DTC, or at least the changes that were happening to the DTC, which is the disability tax credit in Canada. Where if you don't know about it, the government makes people prove that they have a disability over and over again in order to receive this credit. And it's happening to people who have a limb loss. So the government basically tries to make you have to go back to the doctor and prove that your leg has not grown back. Indeed, your arm has not grown back. They make diabetics prove that they still need insulin in order to survive. And so they make all these different disabilities kind of constantly have to reprove themselves. And so that's one aspect of what the government does to people, and why I continue to work and try to change things. We have a lot, I think, of stigma in general when we're talking about things like disability and we're talking about inclusion. The government kind of has to force corporations to include people with disabilities. There are some initiatives, there are tax breaks even that are given, but even with the government kind of pushing for change, it takes all of society to kind of rally around behind that. And there's still a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of fear. And so a lot of my work is trying to break down
those, all those myths and misunderstanding, I guess, of disability and how that fits into the full inclusion picture.
Yeah, exactly, because at the end of the day, like how we started, everybody has the right to earn a living, put a roof over their head, you know, put food on the table. And if there are these barriers that exist that don't allow you to do that, we need to change that. And we need society, again, this is why we have these communities so that we could talk about this openly. Because it's so important. I came across a response on a post that you did, basically saying, you know, why can't a person who isn't able to read, why can't they work as a janitor? Or why can't someone who is computer illiterate, doesn't know how to make a TV, why can't they just walk into a company and say, hey, I could do general work? You know, these are barriers that exist for people that prevent people from earning a living and not contributing to society. People want to work. They do for the most part, you know, want to work, but sometimes there are barriers in place that, you know, just systems, red tape that are there.
I wouldn't even say, it's not even just that. So I mean, we do have that issue when you have like a job posting that says like the receptionist has to be able to lift 70 pounds. Why? And oh, well, they're gonna receive mail. Okay. Do 70-pound packages come to your office every single day? And is there absolutely nobody else in the office that can help somebody move it? Like, why is this a requirement? If they're good on the phone and they're great at customer service and they're smiling and welcoming people, isn't that more important than the odd 70-pound package that apparently shows up at your office? But it's not just that, it's also the fact that we still have things called sheltered workshops. We have, it's legal in most provinces in Canada still to pay a disabled person less than minimum wage. And so there are people who there are disabled people who are technically working, but are making pennies a day, the same way that they would perhaps if they were in a sweatshop somewhere. And this is happening in Canada still. So we have so much work to do before we even get to that point of equality. And if you just look at the barriers and the intersectionality of all this, we know women get paid less than men. We know that the next, I guess, underpaid group after that is Southeast Asian. Then the next lower people are Blacks. And then the next lower people after that are Indigenous. And so when we're talking about equality, we're talking about like equal pay. And then disabled people are below all that. So if you happen to be, let's say, Indigenous and disabled, your chances of getting paid anything living wage is pretty much impossible. And so when you just look at those barriers in terms of that intersectionality, and we're talking about pay equality doesn't mean the same thing depending on your race or depending on your ability.
Thank you. In the back, my people in the back, my Billy and crew, can you guys keep it down, please? Thank you. Thank you. Another question, something that we brought up. You have, it's not you personally, but a friend of yours who is disabled and had a recent barrier in his business, which is, I lost my mind when I heard it because it doesn't make any sense. Would you like to share that?
Oh yeah, so he's a business person who had a long career in like a regular office desk job, using IT or something. And he had an accident where he hurt his back and can no longer do that desk job anymore. So he decided that he would open his own business. So he created this food safety, I guess, well, it's to address food scarcity. So he sells seeds and he sells plants and he sells the produce, and he doesn't just sell it, he gives it away. He had surpluses that he was able to give away and to actually start feeding his community because they live pretty much in like a food desert. And so he's been doing this work for a couple of years. And when he asked for money, a loan from the bank to try to expand what he's doing, even though he gets a government supplement for being disabled, so that's a consistent earning that he gets. The bank says, no, that's not a valid form of income. So he would actually have to get another job to fund the work that he's doing in order to have any sort of loan or help from the bank. So it's just interesting that this, the government income that he gets for having a disability now because he's been injured is going to be there forever, like until he dies, but for whatever reason, the bank does not see that as valid. And so it's a hindrance to him being able to expand his company. So basically, we advised him to create a co-op or to do some sort of funding where basically I said, look, you have shown up for your community and you have fed so many families. They need to support you now, and they need to like write letters of support, or they need to contribute $5 or whatever it is so that they can grow, so that he can continue to feed more people.
We need to support that. That's again, part of why we have this community. We need to change some of the things that are going on that just make no sense at all. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you for everything that you do. Nancy, some of you might recognize Nancy, for those who've attended past events at Cuisine. For those who don't know, she officially sold the space February 9th. Congratulations on the journey. Thank you. When you opened Cuisine like 13, 14 years ago, back then, there really wasn't much support for entrepreneurs over the age of like 39, 40, because apparently you can't start a business after that age. How was your first year in business with no support like we have today?
Well, first I want to thank you, Lynn, for doing this event, because I think this is really important. And I think that having a support network around you is what really helps to be able to build a business. And as Lynn said, when I first started, my business, I was in my 40s. And a woman in her 40s do not start businesses. There was no additional support. And I found it very difficult, especially since I was in a male-dominated field. We were in the construction business and the renovations, and most of the people who were running the business were all men. So I basically, in my first year, I basically ran the business alone. I started off on my own. I took a lot of experience from my previous work employers. I worked in the industry for about 15 years before I decided to embark and do this on my own. I didn't have I had a partner for a while, and that did not work out well. So we split and we went our different ways. So I find that when you're trying to build a business, having a good community around you is extremely important. You make a lot of mistakes on the way when you're not having the right supports. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in not hiring the right people. Hiring somebody and say, oh, I think you're a really nice person, and come down the road going, oh, well, you really don't fit the profile. How many of us have made that kind of mistake when we're, dealing with employees? So there was a lot of hard knocks to learn when you're doing this on your own. And it wasn't easy. And running a business is not for the faint of heart.
Thank you. And hold on one second. I lost my train of thought. So, like I said, you sold the space on February the 9th, but you bought it in the first place. When a lot of people start businesses, they always think of renting a locale or an office space. What made you decide to buy instead of rent?
Well, when we started the business, it was a way to be able to have a little bit of liberty in being able to play with your finances, because when you're owning the building, you have 1 month that's a little bit on the difficult side. You can play with the rent, and you can play paying yourself. So, it gives you that flexibility, because when you're starting up with a new business, I mean, at first the finances are tough. It takes a little time to get going. And you're also not paying the exorbitant rent. I mean, I had a building on St. Lawrence Street, and trying to rent a building on St. Lawrence Street is like ridiculous. So it was just a way to be able to invest in myself and invest in it, because then now 14 years later, now that I decided that I didn't want to babysit anymore, which was one of the decisions why I decided that I was going to not continue with this aspect of this business, because I just felt I wasn't doing what I love to do, which is more design aspect. And I want to be able to take on that and do more as an independent designer than basically running the business aspect of it. And it's a career choice that I decided to take. My husband has been retired for a while, and he's been telling me that he wants to, have some more time with me. So, you get to a point in life when things start telling you, you get to reach a certain age going, time for a change. And I made that decision, and it's only been a month, but I'm very happy with my decision right now.
Where are you going? You didn't tell me.
I've been in Italy for a month.
So you're not officially retired, no, you're still working, you're taking it easy, you worked in corporate, you had your business. You also raised a family, like I mentioned, you're married, you're a wife, you like to travel, you love having a social life. Although this is the first time we've been out in a while. Many of the women here are living through similar experiences. They're raising a family, they might have a corporate job, they might have a business, and it's just so overwhelming. When you reflect back on life, what's the one piece of advice you would give to us, including myself in this?
Having a good support network behind you. I think that's extremely important. I think that's one of the reasons why, Lynn, I've got to take my hat off to you. You've built an amazing community, and I've gotten a lot of people here that have been able to bounce ideas off of and really get some really nice connection. And I really think that when you've got a network that around you, you're a lot better off in this community instead of trying to go at it alone, because it takes a village to, you know, to raise a business, and having the right people around you is extremely important.
Well, thank you so much. And next, last but not least, Judy. Judy, fresh out of university, you were newly licensed as a notary at the age of 24, and you decided to open your own firm as opposed to working for someone. Why? What made you make that decision?
So I always knew that at some point I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I believe I got that from my family. So my grandfather was an immigrant from Italy that came with nothing, like many immigrants, and built an amazing business and empire that I'm very proud of. I'm getting it because we passed away. It's his birthday today. Oh. So I just growing up, I saw that he did it with really nothing and built something that as a granddaughter, I'm very, very proud of. So I told myself, whatever I do in life, I'm doing the same thing. I'm gonna be able to do it with, you know, the little bit of money I had in my account. And that's really what it was. I got out of school, I had a vision, and I invested in my cell phone, my laptop. I created a business on, you know, it cost me $50 on the rack, and I said, let's go, let's do this. I networked. I spent the first year working and probably not getting any profit, but just kept reinvesting in that. And yeah, I just had that in me. I kept looking back, and to this day I still look back and like say, like, if he could do it, I could do it. So let's just, like, zero fear, pedal to the metal, and let's go. And that's why I did it so young, and I had no clients, zero, no experience. I learned a lot too. There were a lot of late nights, a lot of crying, a lot of mistakes. Like almost 10 years later, I really didn't like the roller coaster, but I'm still learning, but yeah.
And you as well, like Nancy, you bought your commercial space as opposed to renting. Do you regret it?
Actually not. That was also something that I, as well, I have to give to my family, my grandfather, my father. I really owe them to them to have really paved the way, because I saw them open businesses and then buy the real estate and invest in their own business. And same thing with me. The moment I was able to put enough money aside, that was my first big purchase that I did on my own. My first big purchase I did on my own. I was very proud. It was like 4 years into my business, and I just, yeah, I'm very happy that I did it. It was a lot of sacrifice. I had a vision, and for anyone that runs a business and is renting space, that's the goal. Try to do that with all your hard work.
If you need a mortgage, I'm here. David's there as well. We can help you out. You are the founder of the Legacy Ladies of Montreal community on Facebook. Why is it so important to you to talk about legacy building with women?
Yes, because in the industry I'm in, so as a notary, I chose to specialize a lot in estate planning. So I've seen a lot of really sad stories of people, loved ones passing away, and they had, and all over the spectrum, whether they had just as a bank account to a huge company, and they did not have an estate plan in place. And the one comment I got from, you know, maybe the spouse that was left behind to kind of deal with all the, I don't want to say the mess, but it was a mess that we had to clean up. And they say, had I known, or I wish I knew, I would have done differently, or I would have planned better. So with Legacy Ladies of Montreal and just being a woman and really inspiring women in a profession that is very male dominant, and I don't find there's a lot of this information going out to women. The whole purpose of it is to inform and educate and hopefully avoid hearing that and people being prepared and having those tough conversations, because I hate to say it, but either you're gonna have those tough conversations when you're creating an estate plan, or your family's gonna have to do it when you're gone. So plan ahead, control, and give peace of mind, and that's what I want to do with that group that I'm building.
It's so important because I know someone, I'm not gonna say who, I know someone on the panel who recently had to settle an estate. I've had to settle an estate. If you've never had to settle the estate of a loved one, talk to someone who has. It is either easy peasy or it's hell.
Yeah.
It is hell, it's costly, it's time consuming, stressful, drama. Drama if there's multiple hands in the pocket. You know, nobody gets along until there's money involved.
And when you lose someone you love, the last thing you want to grieve. You don't want you don't want to stress. So when everything is just planned ahead, it makes it much easier to grieve and then move forward.
Last question of the night, it's a difficult one. Judy, you talk a lot about legacy. What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
Good question. There's a lot, but I'm gonna split it in two. On my personal side, I want to build a company and change a bit the profession and build something that I have a 4.5-year-old, so he sees me work and hustle, and there's times where he gets it, he sees me in it, and I want him to understand that as a mom and a woman, we can do both. We can, and it's hard, but you could do both. You can be the best mom, and you can also build something that he'll look back on and be proud of his mom for doing. So that's on the personal side, is he's my why. And on the professional side is there's 50% of Quebecers that don't have an estate plan. That's a huge number. 50% of our population does not have an estate plan. And it's something like a simple will of preparing for incapacity. I want to bring that number to 80%, to 90%, to 100%. Like everybody should have that in place, and there's no excuse. So that's the legacy I want to leave on my professional side is educate and put into action the importance of that.
Awesome, thank you so much. Thank you to all the panelists. I told you I'd make it work and tell a story. I know they're all completely different. You're all amazing in what you do. And, I love how all of you shared your stories candidly and please continue what you're doing. What is financial inclusion? Basically, it's very simple. It's so that everybody should have access to earn a living wage and have a roof over their head, food on the table. They should be able to access financial services, financial solutions, plan their estate, grow their money. But it's not like that for everybody. So for those of us who are fortunate enough, who are doing it, we need to advocate for those who aren't able to do it or don't have the confidence or need that voice because their voice isn't loud enough. And that's so important to me because a lot of the stuff that's out there in government, in the corporate structure, it just doesn't make sense to me. I've never worked in the corporate world, so I don't know what it's like. And so when I see things on the outside, I'm just like, why is it like that? Same thing with governments. Why is there so much red tape to do something so simple? Why? Because the structure is there. And so we need to work hard. We need to make our money, we need to save, invest, grow, generate wealth, leave a legacy, and have that transfer of wealth to the next generation so that our future generations, our future grandchildren, great-grandchildren will have money. Why is it always the same people in power? Because they did their estate planning and they passed on their legacy. And this is not just from one generation to the next, this is multiple generations. Why is it always the same people in power? Why is it always the same people who are rich? Because they did their estate planning. So do your own estate planning and make sure that your great grandkids or your grandnieces or nephews, if you don't have children of your own, make sure that when they look at their situation, they can look back and say, oh my God, Auntie, Judy, she set us up for good, the same way that you spoke about your grandfather. We need to do that for our families. 2026, I've shared the stat already. In Canada, women are going to control half the wealth in this country. Well, I don't know why you always laugh, because we didn't work for that money. The reason why it's because of two things: divorce and inheritance. Yeah, we didn't work for that, ladies. I know we like to clap, but no, we need to be doing that. Someone prepared their estate and their finances to pass on to us. So we need to continue that, otherwise we're gonna run out of money. All right, so again, thank you so much. For those who are not part of the Women and Money Montreal community, please join us on Facebook. I run weekly financial literacy sessions every Tuesday, 7 p.m. for personal finance. Fridays, 9 a.m. we run the Breakfast Club for women entrepreneurs, talking about different subjects every week. If there's anything that you need assistance with, I didn't mention this before, I am an independent financial security advisor, a mortgage broker, and I am very well connected. I know everybody. So if you need anything to help you on your journey, please reach out, talk to everyone who's here, reach out to these lovely ladies, and let's just bond and let's just do it. But don't leave. I know we had a lot of fun tonight and we're going to have a lot of fun, but leave here, like tomorrow when you wake up, do something. Do it, whatever it is, do something. Alan's giving me the signal. What time is it? Someone have the time? 8:05? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so good. I don't even have a watch. Okay. Okay, we are going to take a group photo. If everyone downstairs, are they finished eating? I don't care. Tell them to come upstairs. Oh, they didn't get their food. Perfect. Have them come upstairs. We're going to take a group photo. Just before we do, I would like to thank the staff of La Gaviota. Where are you girls? Thank you so much for your service and for opening up your doors. If you take any pictures, any videos, please remember to tag them. Go on Google, give them a Google review, a good one, please. If you took any video of us, make sure to tag us, and let's just support each other. It doesn't cost anything to tag. Take pictures, spread the word, build a legacy, grow. My goal for this group is every year we grow and grow every year financially. Okay, so we're going to get together, take a group photo, and then DJ Blaster, where is he? He is going to get us dancing. I promise you. Like who else do I have to thank? I have to thank Ali, my photographer. Yeah. Thank you so much for being in everyone's face and taking all those candid shots. Did May come yet? Can anyone just? Okay, so we're also celebrating the 100th Women in Money Montreal Zoom session. So there are 100 cupcakes downstairs for you all to dig in. I know they didn't get their supper downstairs, but it's okay, whatever. It all goes to the same place. I would like to thank Bill from Stage Vision. Some of you may have met him for the AV equipment for the setup. Thank you so much. I'm not going to say you're single because you always ruin it whenever I introduce you like that.
I want to say one thing. Tonight was very inspiring. You inspire me. And I know women work a lot harder than men do. So, you guys are on your way up. Soon we won't be necessary.
How many tequila shots do you about? Okay, I think I did all my thank yous. I thanked all the panelists. No, they won't be here forever. We're women. We're going to be here till like. That's why I'm going to do the Q&A because we talk too much. Okay, group photo. Everybody here follow Alan's direction, and then afterwards we're going to party.